Welcome back to another video within the News TV Daily. Now in this video, we find out who the alleged people who are responsible for the passing of the late great Jam Master Jay. Now the two people have been indicted and they are currently locked up. Now let's get into the news. Alright, so now new news has came out about the fallen DJ of Run DMC, Jam Master Jay. Now according to the reports, a federal grand jury has indicted two men in the unsolved passing of Jam Master Jay, which happened back in 2002. Now back in 2002, Jam Master Jay passed away in his recording studio in Queens, New York, where he was only 37 years old. Now nearly 18 years has passed, and the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of New York has unsealed an indictment saying that two men were responsible. They go by the name of Carl Jordan Jr. and Ronald Washington was responsible in retaliation for a drug dispute. Now in the indictment, it says that Jam Master Jay was involved in transporting keys in large quantities from the years of 1996 to 2002, all while having a rap career. Now in 2002, Jam Master Jay got about 10 keys, which was supposed to be distributed by Washington and Jordan. During a dispute, Washington ended up getting cut out of the transaction. Now in an indictment, Washington and Jordan planned a hit. Now on October 30th, they entered Jam Master Jay's recording studio. Now Jordan, who is now 36 years old, was arrested Sunday and will be arraigned Monday afternoon via teleconference. And as for Washington, he is currently 56 years old and is currently in federal custody and will be arraigned at a later date. Now according to Seth D., who is an acting United States attorney at the Eastern District of New York, he said that they never gave up solving the case. He said that it's important back then and it remains extremely important for them this case and bring justice to his family, friends, and the community that cared so much about these events. This indictment solves the passing of one of the most influential hip-hop artists of all time. Now here is the press conference, officially what they had to say about the passing. Roll it.
We're here today to announce the fact that a grand jury here in the Eastern District has returned an indictment, and we have alleged that two defendants, Carl Jordan Jr. and Ronald Washington, are responsible for the of Jason Mizell, who's known to many of us as Jam Master Jay from the hip-hop group Run DMC. You know, this is a case that's been around for a long time, as many of you know. Back in 2002, on October 30th, we allege that the defendants Jordan and Washington walked into the music studio in Queens where Mr. Mizell and others. Our office, along with our federal partners and the NYPD, started working that case in the early 2000s, very soon after. And there were a lot of challenges that we faced right away. In fact, one of the first cases that I worked on when I was here as a prosecutor in 2008 was this very case. And these gentlemen and our team were able to accomplish what I was frankly not then able to accomplish. And it's really through their hard work and the work of the Queens Cold Case Detective Squad, the FBI, who was with us at the outset, and the ATF, who has joined us along the way, really never gave up on this case. It was important to us then, and it remains extremely important to us now to bring justice for the victim and his family and his friends and the community that cared so much about those events. I'm not going to talk in detail about the case or the investigation. We have public charges filed and a detention letter that will be before the court, and that will contain some more information. I think it's important that we recognize that this is just the first step in a process. That charges in an indictment, as you know, are allegations. Every defendant has a right to hold the government to its burden of proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt in a courtroom, and that's what we intend to do with respect to these defendants. I also think it's important in this time for us to recognize that there are certain crimes for which the passage of time affords no safe harbor, and we've charged this case with respect to Mr. Jordan as a drug-related and the same charges apply to Mr. Washington. Also, with respect to Mr. Jordan, we've charged but primarily this is a case about for nearly 2 decades had gone unanswered. And so today we begin to answer that question. Mizell and why, and we're confident that we can prove those charges beyond a reasonable doubt. So with that, I'm going to turn the podium over to Chief of Detective Harrison. Here in the Eastern District of New York, charging 2 defendants, Carl Jordan Jr. and Ronald Washington, for their involvement, who I think you all know was known as Jam Master Jay and part of the group Run DMC. And what we've alleged in that indictment is that on October 30th, 2002, nearly 20 years ago, Mr. Jordan and Mr. Washington walked into a music studio in Queens where Mr. Mizell and others
to solve the sense Jason Mizell, known as Jam Master Jay. NYPD detectives and ATF special agents employed a wide variety of investigative techniques to uncover the evidence that led us where we are here today to announce these arrests and these indictments. The investigation demonstrates the collaborative commitment that we bring to justice those involved and across the country. To the family and friends of Mr. Mizell, who've endured a heavy burden of grief over these many years, we hope that today's arrests and indictments and this announcement will bring some measure of peace, knowing that those responsible will be held accountable. I want to also thank the United States Attorney's Office and the NYPD for the excellent collaborative work and the enormous effort put in by all those investigators and prosecutors in this case. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks. I just want to add that Mr. Jordan will be arraigned by a video teleconference this afternoon. Mr. Washington will be arraigned at a later date to be determined by the court. Thank you for your attention.